Michigan. Well, now we're getting some insight into what the Hillary Clinton camp thinks led to her demise, and she thinks it comes down to that letter that James Comey of the FBI sent in the few days before the election. Thinks that this blunted her momentum, that stopped the momentum that they were seeing, and may have led to her defeat. I think there's some truth to that. Even Judge Jeanine Pirro on our air thought that that was wrong for the FBI to come out and do that, and there was some momentum that she was building, and you saw that in some of the polls, but the polls were wrong. So I don't know. Their internal polling was also wildly off, the Hillary Clinton campaign's polling. So if they're saying that their momentum was blunted and yet their polls were way off, they didn't see Donald Trump winning states like Pennsylvania, Michigan.
How about ran a bad campaign with a flawed candidate? I mean, once again, you have a public position and a private position. Publicly, she came out and said, hey, you know, we did our best. We lost. Donald Trump ran a great campaign. Privately, this was on a conference call to her donors. Rather than take ownership, she says, oh, it was James Comey and his letter. How about your private server? You know, I mean, there's just no introspection.
There's a lot of
there.
This is what was being said behind the scenes, as you said, on a conference call, and very different from the message we heard her give when she conceded and gave that speech, saying we need to come together. But, you know, we've been out on the road a lot talking to voters, and I will say I do think there was something to, we called it the Comey effect. Yeah. But for the most part, talking to voters, that didn't come up as much. It was really the direction they wanted this country to go. It was they could not survive anymore on Obamacare. The economy was not where they wanted it to be. And I think it ultimately, for a lot of people, it came down to what would make their lives better and who was the right person to lead this country moving forward.
You saw that white working class vote shift in Trump's direction, and I don't know that it all came down to a Comey letter. Let us know your thoughts. Friends at foxnews.com this morning. FF Weekend on Twitter.
It's always easy to point fingers once you lose, right? All right, we do have some other headlines to get to this morning, starting with an election alert. We were just talking about all of the votes now in for the state of Michigan, and President-elect Donald Trump is on top. Mr. Trump leading the state now with 47.6% of the vote. Hillary Clinton right behind him with 47.3%. Once officially called, the state would propel President-elect Trump past 300 electoral votes. He is now at 306. And major backup headed to the United States southern border to stomp out a surge of illegals. 150 extra border patrol and custom agents will be temporarily reassigned to the Rio Grande Valley from nearby cities after an uncontrollable amount of refugees are seeking refuge. They have been caught, and the move comes as fears swell over President-elect Donald Trump's campaign promise to strengthen the border. Dave Chappelle making his return to sketch comedy, hosting the first SNL since the election. The comedian had a message for President-elect Donald Trump. Take a listen.
All my black friends who have money.
That left-wing charity organization, the Progress Unity Fund, is providing the funding for many of these protests. Here for more, editor-in-chief of The Politistic, Jennifer Berg. Jennifer, good morning. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, thanks for getting up so early for us. So we've seen thousands across the country in different cities rioting, protesting. Talk to us about who is behind these protests and ultimately what are they wanting to get out of all of this?
You know, it's very interesting to me that the main group behind this is, as you said, Progress Unity Fund. What is unifying about tearing apart American cities because you don't like the results of a presidential election? And they're funding a group called Answer, which is you know, like a Stop War and Racism organization, and you look at scenes from Portland, Oregon, and it looks like a war going on in the streets. So the names of their groups and their messaging just really doesn't coincide with what they're actually doing.
Well, Jennifer,
and I believe their end result, they just want chaos.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think they do. Answer is an organization I learned about in 2007 when I was running an Iraq war group. They did a lot of Iraq war protesting. But it's not just that. Tell our audience a little bit more about Answer. What do they want? Who are they really? And what are these protests? What are they trying to accomplish?
You know, a few nights ago, we were looking on Twitter. His account is deactivated now, was suspended by Twitter. But Scott Fulville, who is the Democrat operative who was exposed by James O'Keefe and Project Veritas as working to create chaos at Republican events, said if you're going to have signs, don't have them all look exactly the same like you did in Ferguson and Baltimore. So these people take an event and they use it to create chaos, anarchy, mayhem throughout America. And I think their end result is this fundamental transformation of America to devolve into this chaotic state so that the likes of their groups can take control. Yeah. They don't want to recognize Donald Trump as the president, and frankly, I think that Obama refusing to take the traditional picture with him actually is helping to fuel this.
Well, we've been showing some of the footage. Some of it is so vulgar that we've had to just blur it out. And we've seen there's been violence. I mean, it's gotten pretty ugly out there. Even here in New York City, we see it, as you said last night, just outside your window eating dinner. How many of our resources and money, I mean, people have all the right to say what they want to say and to have free speech. But when it gets so ugly, how much of our own money and resources are going towards this?
You know, this Progress Unity Fund, it's a charitable organization, 501(c), just like the Red Cross, and so they're getting tax breaks for this chaos and mayhem and anarchy and destruction.
Sure.
And then in the end, these cities are going to be on the hook, and these businesses and the insurance companies that insure them are going to have to rebuild, recover, only to what? Have it happen again? This is the, fourth night?
Yeah, no, you're right.
It's
maybe all the way to Inauguration Day.
Yeah, they say they're going to protest Inauguration Day. Jennifer, thank you very much. You know, the Progress Unity Fund funds Answer, which is run by communists and international leftists who hate America and Israel. It's a lot deeper than just Donald Trump, unfortunately. Jennifer, thank you very much.
Jennifer, thank you.
All right, well, we all know Donald Trump loves him some Twitter, almost as much as he loves, you know that, a taco bowl. So how will the infamous account that brought us this photo, once he takes off, what's he going to do with it?
Yeah, I want to know about that. And if Hillary Clinton ends up getting charged with a crime, should President Obama pardon her? This is an idea being floated around by many on the left, and we are going to debate that next. Stick around.
With the temperament of Donald Trump, is not in charge of the law in our country.
Yeah, because you'd be in jail.
But now, as President-elect Donald Trump prepares to take over as commander-in-chief, he said that decision to prosecute Hillary Clinton has been put on the back burner. He said that in a 60 Minutes interview set to air tonight. So should President Obama just pardon her? Here to debate, Fox News contributor Tammy Bruce and Ohio State Senator Capri Cafaro. Nice to see both.
Morning.
You guys
Absolutely.
fully recovered from the election?
Oh yeah, it's been great. I mean, I've been in a little bit of a daze that this is really true. When we hear President-elect Trump, I'm excited about that. And now he's got to govern. He's got to make decisions. It is a little surreal, but yeah, it's time for us to get together and make the country function.
So you heard the question that was asked of him. It'll be on 60 Minutes tonight. He seems to be putting this on the back burner about the idea of setting up a special prosecutor to go after Hillary Clinton. But the reason this question was asked of Josh Earnest at the White House by the press corps on whether or not the president should pardon Hillary Clinton, sort of ahead of time. What do you think, Capri?
Well, you know, it's my understanding that back in 1975, there was a case, I believe it was Murphy versus Ford, that actually challenged the constitutionality of Ford's pardoning, basically like in advance of Richard Nixon. And essentially the ruling of the lower court in Michigan said, yes, it is constitutional to preemptively pardon. That being said, frankly, you know, I think it sends the wrong message. If President Obama preemptively, pardons Hillary Clinton, it says a few things. It basically sends the message that she's guilty. I don't necessarily know if that's something that Hillary Clinton wants or the Democrats want.
She hasn't been charged with anything.
Right, she hasn't been charged with a crime.
Well, but here's the other issue. Donald Trump was elected specifically because of the sense of all these agencies being politicized, especially the DOJ, the mess with the FBI. We're looking for law and order. The rule of law being reestablished, that the law applies to the elites in the same way. So what Donald Trump needs to do is actually separate himself, frankly, from this process. He's going to have a new attorney general. That individual is going to have to operate as we expect the attorney general to operate, which is on his or her own, making these determinations.
That's a great point.
If you have the president pardoning her, once again, it's the elite interfering for the elite again. So my advice as a big Trump supporter, or somebody who advocated for him, but not attached to the campaign, is the fact that if he were to interfere right now, it's more of the same. We want to see an attorney general who is going to be looking at the issues. Remember, the Clinton Foundation investigation continues.
Right, so we do have an
these are things that are issues for him.
There's a difference, certainly, between an investigation and an indictment, and a conviction. And I think that, you know, that's the thing. I mean, the average person sitting at home is probably scratching their head. Yes, there's the whole Nixon thing that's had sets precedent. But, how could you be pardoned? I just had this conversation last night, actually, with one of my friends talking about this topic. And she said to me, well, how could you pardon somebody who hasn't been convicted of a crime?
What about Donald Trump waiting until, if there is some sort of a prosecution, could Donald Trump come in to try to heal the country and pardon her?
Well, part of the healing of the country is the statement of this election is the rule of law and the process is going to act out. I don't think that there's any reason to implement this for him to be involved at any point. This is not something that should be on his agenda. We've got the economy.
But Tammy, you say, hold on one second. You say, we're going to have a fair attorney general. But if you put in Rudy Giuliani, as Attorney General Rudy Giuliani, come on.
Well, look, here's the deal. We're not talking about what Trump should do necessarily. We're talking about what Barack Obama should do in his waning days, and whether or not President Obama should, pardon Hillary Clinton, and in advance of basically trying to preempt the fact that there may be a prosecution.
Here's what I would predict, considering what's just happened because of the attitude of President Obama, his politicized DOJ, if it's going to